Welcome. This is teacher-led differentiation with Nearpod, support for every learner. This is part of our test prep series that we are presenting to anybody who wants to join us. We are happy to kind of just provide you with this little bonus training opportunity, if you will, because we are heading into test prep season, right? And we want to talk about how Nearpod supports your best instruction, actually, your best first instruction that will lead to amazing scores on those standardized tests. So to get started, we have a code for you to join a Nearpod lesson that I am going to be leading. So if you take a look at my shared screen here on GoToWebinar, the code is FGHJR. Okay, we are going to have a live lesson, so please go on over to join.nearpod.com, drop in that code, join my lesson as a guest, and we will be set to get started. Now, the other way to join is with the link, and I have my great colleagues here at Nearpod. I've got Julie and Tracy and Mallory. They are in the chat. They are sharing messages with you in the chat. So they will be sharing the messages, and they will also be answering your questions. So if you have any questions throughout our webinar that's going to go for the next 90 minutes, please do direct them to the questions box on your GoToWebinar screen. All right, so my timer went off. That means it is officially start time. So I am just going to jump in and I am going to begin. And what I am going to do is I'm going to change what you see on the shared screen. And I am going to pull over my Nearpod lesson that I am teaching. Okay, this is my teacher dashboard. I'm going to actually close out that tab that has the welcome screen, and I am just going to lead it from here. So here at Nearpod, whenever we lead a lesson, whenever we lead a training, whenever we even when we have meetings, we use Nearpod to do so, because we just think that it is a great way to keep your students or your participants engaged and interacting with the presentation. It is not just a straightforward passive experience. It is more interactive, because that is what we do best here at Nearpod. So I will be sharing my teacher dashboard. I will also later on in this session be popping on over to the Nearpod platform. And I'm going to show you how to work some things on the platform, and you're going to get a chance to try that out too. So we're going to have all kinds of fun today. On top of that, I will be just like talking here on the webinar, and I have a shared screen. So since we're all connected here virtually, we're not in the same room together, that's going to require a little bit of window management on your device. So you might want to minimize or not minimize necessarily, but make the screen, the webinar screen smaller, and then work on the tabs behind the scenes there to kind of interact with the lesson or interact on Nearpod. If you need any help with doing that, if you have any questions about doing that, please direct your questions to the questions box in the webinar here. But without further ado, I am actually just going to begin. So I'm going to click over here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to officially introduce myself. This is me. My name is Alyssa Navarrete, and I am coming to you today from the Nearpod Professional Services team. So we are a team of about, is it 12, 13? I don't know how many of us are, but we are a mighty team of educators where we all are really passionate about instruction and about best practices and about supporting all of our great Nearpod users and customers and using this tool to implement great instruction. So just a tiny bit of background about me is I am just what I'm going to call a lifelong educator. I have been in this business for a very long time as a bilingual teacher. I have been a curriculum specialist. I have been a teacher leader. I am an early childhood specialist. I'm a math specialist. And now I work here at Nearpod talking about technology integration. So I've been around the block, and really talking about curriculum and instruction is one of my passions. And so that's why I'm excited to lead this webinar specifically, where we are going to talk about differentiating with Nearpod and how that supports success on standardized tests. So this is me. You can send me a message anytime you want. You send it here in the chat, and I'm happy to help you out and happy to answer your questions too. So let's talk about taking notes. Something that we have made available for you in this Nearpod lesson is the notes the notes feature. So I don't have a handout to give you. I'm not in the room with you, can't pass anything out, but if you want to send your own self a handout, just go up in your lesson where you are joined in as a student, click on this little tab here on the top right-hand corner. It looks like a pencil in front of a piece of paper, and that will pop out a little window where you can decide the location where you want your notes to go. I recommend trying out email today. So just put your email address in there and that will activate the notes navigator for you so you can get the handout sent to your email. The handout will consist of the slides that you see. Any links that are in the slides, you'll be able to go back and review those, and then the notes that you write, because there will be a little text box that opens up. So it will be a nice document with all of the info from today's session. So click on that tab. You can always go back and click on it and put it away if you don't want to see it covering up your screen, but it will be available to you for every slide in our lesson. And by the way, that is something that you can make available for your own students when you create lessons for your own students. If you want them to be able to go back and review the lesson, take notes to go along with the slides, like all you have to do is enable that feature up in your Nearpod lesson settings. So that is a choice that you have. Do you want notes for your students or not? All right, so if you joined us in our last presentation where my colleague Julie presented to you all about Nearpod content and how Nearpod content supports test prep, you might have seen this video. We are going to play it again because we just want to kind of revisit, like, why are we here? Why are we offering this series, and why are we doing it now? And what do we as Nearpod have to offer you in supporting the test prep? So take a look at my shared screen. I'm going to play this video. It will play on your own lesson if you want to, so you could look at it that way. We took this video and we just embedded it right on a Nearpod slide. So this isn't the regular Nearpod video tool, this is the slides tool, but let's take a look. If I can hear this okay.
You're able to hear from every student and see how they're doing over the course of a lesson to improve and make changes so that you can be in alignment with what they need.
So who's excited? I'm excited. I just do. I love talking about this kind of stuff. So standards aligned content available for you in Nearpod. Real-time data you get from teaching lessons with Nearpod. And then when you get that data, what do you want to do with it? You want to reach all your learners, so you can use that to provide differentiated instruction with all of the great Nearpod tools. And that is what we are set to talk about today. So these are our learning objectives. We have kind of 3 bullet points that we're going to hit today. You can take a look at those, read them on your own, but like overall, we're gonna just really review how you get actionable data from teaching lessons with Nearpod. Ideas for simplifying that process of differentiating instruction by editing Nearpod lessons, because I know that when I was in the classroom and you told me, you gotta provide differentiated instruction for your students, I was like, that sounds so time consuming, that's so hard, how do I do it? How do I reach the needs or meet the needs of all my learners? So with Nearpod, we're gonna show you ways to do it simply. And we're just going to give you some inspiration, hopefully, and some explanations of how to do it with Nearpod. So those are our 3 bullet points today. Okay, so to begin, here we go. Nearpod activity. This is a poll. So I want to hear from you. Let's see, we've got a lot of people here. I'm checking my numbers. We have 187 of you joining us right now. So yay, this is a really large class. So this is going to be a lot of data. And just for a review, let me know which Nearpod tool is your favorite to use to check for student understanding. Okay, you can choose as many of these as you want. And if your choice is going to be J, that you are new to Nearpod and you've never tried any of these, but you're excited to learn, welcome. We are glad you are here. We're not going to be doing a beginner session of Nearpod, but if you need some beginner help, go up to the top right-hand corner on your poll, and we've got a document there attached for you. This is what we call reference media. So you want to learn some more on your own, go ahead and open that up, and we've got some great self-study options for you. So you can maybe bookmark this document, come back to it, review some of these little lessons here to get your own self started, because we won't be starting from the beginning today. Additionally, I want to point out a little tool that is available for you in this lesson if you are unfamiliar with it, and it is on the top right-hand corner. It's called the Immersive Reader. So if you click on this book with the speaker in front of it, what it will do is it will read
which Nearpod tool is
the text on the screen to you. So you can access that immersive reader as a student at any time, as long as you see it sitting to you available in the lesson. So you can have the text read to you if the reading level is higher than where you are. So we're giving you this audio support. Up on the top right, you've also got ways to adjust the size of the text if that's going to help you. Maybe you want to change the font or change the color to suit maybe your visual needs that you need. In the center button on the Immersive Reader tool, there are some grammar options that might help you with your comprehension. And then on the top right, we have a line focus tool. So you could turn that on and you are able to if there's a lot of text on the screen, you are able to scroll through and kind of get some focus. That might be helpful for you, or that might be helpful for your students. There's a picture dictionary. So if you click on a word that is, maybe you can't read it, you get the illustration, okay? And so I want you to notice, the reason I'm explaining these things is because these are differentiation tools, easy ones that are just readily available in Nearpod. And then you also have the translate tool. So I can translate this entire document into another language.
最好用 Nearpod 器
And I can have it read to me. So if I am an English learner and my teacher presents an activity or a question in Nearpod and I'm just not sure, I can just pop on over and use my immersive reader and be independent and answer. And then get access and be able to participate. So, all right, so now I'm gonna check this data, and to be honest, this is like a lot of data. I hope none of you have 198 students in your class, because this is larger than a normal class here, but it does kind of gather a bunch of data for me, and I can see like what is the one that looks like they're most popular. Oh, look at that. See, got 12% of you who are new to Nearpod. So glad you are here. Stick with us, or you're gonna learn a lot of cool things. And if you need to backtrack a little bit, like I said, go to that document and review. And also we have a lot of support features for you on our resources page or within the platform that I will share with you as we move through. All right, otherwise, what is the #1 most popular response here? Time to climb, of course. We love time to climb, gamified quiz, a lot of fun. Everybody loves time to climb. But something that you should just know is all of these choices here, going back over to the student side, come on, there we go. A through I, all of those are tools to check for student understanding. No matter what tool you pick in Nearpod, it is going to make your students' thinking visible. You are going to get evidence of learning by using a Nearpod tool. And the cool thing about it, when you're teaching a lesson with Nearpod in real time, is you get it in the moment. So you don't have to wait till the end of class or the end of the day. You can just pivot your instruction in the moment if necessary, or you can wait till later too. However you want, it's giving you great data. All right, well, let's move ahead there. Let's talk about this data. Okay, so how does Nearpod help you determine student needs for next steps? Well, with those activities that we just went through and picked our favorites. Now, some of them are open-ended, you may notice. So Nearpod can't grade it. you actually have to take a look at each student's work and really kind of check for their responses. Other ones, Nearpod can score it. Okay, we're not going to say it's going to give your students a grade because you determine your students' grades, but it does give a score. It will tell you how many correct, or how many tries, or something like that. So open-ended or evaluative. And then you can, after the lesson is over, you can also go look at the reports, and you can dig in a little bit deeper and really sort out that data and help you plan for your next steps of instruction as well. And something else that you can do if you love using Google tools or Microsoft tools is you can drop those Google Forms and those Microsoft Forms into a Nearpod lesson too. Did you know that? All you have to do is drop them in. You grab the URL, you share the link, and you put it in under the web content choice. And then it will move that data into Google or Microsoft if you like to look at data that way. So lots of options in Nearpod. But let's focus a little bit more about more specifically, like, what are these different options then? Okay, the open-ended ones will be a collaborate board, a draw it, open-ended questions, or flip. So collaborate board, that's the one, if you see here on my little illustrations, actually on the bottom, that would be the one on the left with put the little post-its all up on the digital post-it board. Draw it is the activity where your students can draw right on the screen, okay? They can't do that in Google Slides if you just give them a Google slide deck, but you turn it into a draw it, and then they can write on the screen. They can add pictures, they can highlight, they can upload screenshots, like, so many different ways to share their learning with a draw it. Open-ended question is just such a versatile tool for being able to respond, to type out, or to speak out their responses to a question. But every student gets a chance to speak when they're in a Nearpod lesson. So that's really important because they all have a voice. And then flip, if you like using Microsoft Flip and you like encouraging your students to create videos and video responses, you can also integrate that into Nearpod. So those are the ones that are open-ended. Nearpod's not going to score it. You're going to have to go through and you're going to have to take a look at it. So let's just try one out really, really quick. We're not really here to learn about gravity, but we wanted you to see a sample. This is an open-ended question. No, it's not. This is a draw it, sorry. This is a draw it. And so we put some instructions at the top, and this is what our lesson is about today. The word of the day is gravity. What do you know about gravity? What do you want to know? Use the tools to complete the chart. Okay, so I can click on that blue instructions tab and it will move it out of the way, show my whole screen there. If I wasn't able to read this, don't forget, I've got the immersive reader over here that I can activate to have the instructions read to me. And then I can use the tools on the bottom to participate in this open-ended activity. Now, I used to do a lot of KWLs when I was in the classroom. We like to do them a lot as a whole class, but one thing I realized if I wasn't using technology is that, you don't hear from every student. Even if you have your students do a turn and talk to their neighbor and share something, as far as what I'm posting on the classroom KWL chart, I'm not hearing from all my learners. But if everybody's got to draw it, they can all put in their 2 cents here. And then as a teacher, and we're going to see how this goes because we have such a large lesson here. So this is pretty data heavy. It's not coming through necessarily, but I know you guys are all working hard on your draw. Oh, there it goes. Your draw it slides here. So I would see the work that you are doing. I can see what you're drawing on your screen if you want to just try out those tools for a second, but we're not going to hang out here for very long. I am actually, just so you know, I am going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of my dashboard. And I'm going to hide your names just so you feel a little bit more comfortable sharing in case ooh, is she going to show that dashboard again? And you didn't want your name to show on the dashboard when I'm sharing it, which I don't have to do, but just to preserve your anonymity in these activities, I have now hidden your names by clicking on this eyeball. All right, so lots of great responses here. Let me just go ahead and move on. If I had fewer students in my class, I could really dig in and look a little bit more closely and see what do my students want to know or what do they already know. I would have a good good data right away. Ooh, we got some scientists here. I can already see that. Let's move ahead. Let's talk about different types of activities in Nearpod, because we just talked about 4 that were open-ended. But what about the ones that I said could give you a score? That would be something like a quiz, or a fill-in-the-blanks activity, or a matching pairs, or our favorite, most popular one, according to our poll, time to climb. So let's try a different way of talking about gravity then. And so we're going to do a quiz. And you know what? I'm going to show your names here just for kind of functionality's sake, so you can learn a couple things about using Nearpod. Because if I hide your names, I'm not going to see everybody's responses. But on your side of things, so you have a quiz, a 5-question quiz. So go ahead, you guys, and I know you're all teachers, so you want to get all the answers correct, but don't worry about it. Just choose and then go to next on the bottom right-hand corner, okay? Just really quickly answer so I can get some data. And do know that the immersive reader is available to you if you were needing help with it, reading the questions in the quiz. But so don't read the questions, guys. Don't try to get them all right. You know, this always happens. Oh, there we go. Some of you are playing along. Yeah. Because it's really more interesting data when you don't get all of the answers correct. Here, but so as a teacher, I can look at my students' scores here. So I got the nice color-coded red and green that's helping me know how much my students have learned, or maybe where I need to provide some more targeted support. I mean, creating a quiz in Nearpod is really, really simple. And it's a matter of creating an open-ended question. It doesn't have to be long. It can just be 2 or 3 questions if you want to just do a quick check for understanding. Nearpod gives the score. All right, you guys. So if you have not finished the quiz, you have 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, don't stress if you haven't finished it yet. I'm not grading you on your knowledge of gravity. But what I want to show you is that I can even share the scores back with you. So check it out. I am going to click on my dashboard because you guys took the quiz. And if I go up here, back over to the student side of things, we just see what the students see, but as the teacher, I've got all the good data. So I click this red share button, and then on your screen, you should have just gotten your score. It popped up on the screen for you, so you can see how many you got correct and how many you got incorrect, and which ones were correct and incorrect, and you got your score. So you know what I can do? Everybody remember your score, because we're gonna move on. Now we have a choice board. We have some differentiated instruction. So based on your score, you get to choose your next steps. So I have 2 different levels of lessons here for you. They are kind of more targeted. So I prepared this ahead of time and I thought, all right, my students that struggled, they needed a reteach. But my students who got all 5 correct, they're ready for extension. So if you click on the extension activity, it's going to take you to another link. Okay, this is a link for a student-paced Nearpod lesson, and you're going to be invited to join that lesson, and then you're going to, you can explore that extension there. So this slide that you're looking at in the webinar, on the webinar screen, or in the Nearpod lesson, is what we call a choice board. We created this choice board with Google Slides, which is one way to create a choice board. You can also create choice boards with Nearpod slides if you want to, and we'll talk about that at the end of our session. But what we really want you to understand is how easy was that for me to provide that targeted instruction for you. I prepared 2 different levels. I put them on a choice board. I said, take the quiz. Based on your score, you get to determine your next steps. All right, so hopefully you clicked on both of those. They did open up in new tabs. So if the tabs are gonna become a lot of tabs for you, just go to the tab of the gravity lessons and close that out so it doesn't sit there. Okay, maybe you wanna close the tab of the independent learning like I do. So I just have one nice tab open, but it's up to you. Just, I do know that some of us, we can end up with a lot of tabs open in our browsers. Okay, so how can you, what are other ways to get this data so you know what type of differentiated instruction to provide for your students? Well, in addition to the real-time activity responses, which we just did, you can look at reports. So I am going to pull up a report. Okay, this is another Nearpod account I have open. In my Nearpod account, you can see like all of these lessons that have been taught. I went to the reports button on Nearpod, the third button down, and I am going to look at this particular lesson right here, which is about plant parts. And we have the session, this timestamp, the session when this was taught. I'm going to open up this report so you can see all of the rich data that this report generates and how this data can help guide my instruction. You can see that this particular lesson has had quite a few different types of activities. It had pull, draw it, drag and drop, open-ended question, quiz, time to climb. Okay, so some are scored, some are not scored. I can go through the individual activities and I can examine the data like one activity at a time by clicking on the activity button in the center. So if I wanted to see like the draw it's, because I didn't have a chance to see everybody's draw it in the moment, I can go back and I can look at the different levels of my students, the work they did. I can determine their understanding this way. But let's take a look at another like great way that Nearpod helps you plan for that differentiated instruction, and it would be with the data in the reports about the quiz. So notice I have the scores for the quiz. I also have the percentage, and then I actually can like drill down into each question from the quiz and look at Nearpod flags for me. This was a frequently missed question. So I can actually open up this particular question and then I can realize, okay, a lot of them have a misconception about this question, so I can provide that targeted follow-up if I need to, and it will even drill down into each student and what they answered. And so pretty helpful to just kind of take a look at the data and sort out the data in the reports that way. I also, if I go back to the summary data, I actually could just use this little drop-down arrow at the top of my activities that like have a score, like the time to climb even, like where's the time to climb? I can like sort it from lowest to highest score or from highest to lowest, or I will see, these certain students didn't participate. So again, help me group up my students, decide who needs what, and it just lives right there. And it's all tracked when you teach with Nearpod. All right, so let me get rid of this. So filter the data in the reports. Look for the frequently missed questions. You can sort it by highest to lowest. And then of course, if you add a Google form or a Microsoft form to your Nearpod lesson, it's really easy to do that. You just drop it in as web content. Web content is one of the choices when you're creating a lesson. So you get that link and you drop it in that way. And then that data goes over to your Google accounts. So this next slide right here, it's just a little step-by-step. You can scroll through on your own. It will repeat what I just showed you about getting data from Nearpod reports. So if you sent the handout to yourself for this lesson, okay, if you activated your notes and you pushed this out, you can go back and you can review this step-by-step guide. All right, so let's do a little quiz. Let me check for understanding here. This is a drag and drop. Okay, so I want to see how much maybe you know about Nearpod or how much you remember, or maybe you're a little bit confused. This will be helpful information for me. So which tools from Nearpod are open-ended and which tools are scored? Like will actually give you a score. They're all formative assessment, but like I know a collaborate board, that's going to go under open-ended question. Sorry, not open-ended question, open-ended formative assessment. Quiz, that's obviously going to be scored. So go ahead and drag those labels onto the drag and drop screen. And I'm just going to watch you for a second. And I will hide your names again. These little drag and drop things are fun to do. They always kind of catch me off guard whenever we have like a lesson or a meeting that we're participating in, and then they'll stop and be like, okay, so let's see how much you remember or how much you heard, and then we'd be like, oh, maybe I don't remember as much as I thought. So it's a really good quick check for understanding. And it's also kind of helps you know what you need to go back and maybe review. And if you're looking at my screen, I get the little thumbnail view of all of my students' work. You can write notes on there. You can also type on this. You don't just have to drag the label. It is there we go. It's popping in. As I said, we've got 237 people in my lesson now, so it's an unusually large lesson. So the data is just flying through the internet. But we are still connected. So isn't that magical? You guys are joining in from all over, I don't know, maybe from all around the world. I'm not even sure where everybody's coming from, but for sure all over the US. And here we are in one digital learning space all together. That is the magic. Okay. Checking that out. So if you're wondering what are the correct answers, I'll just do this. Let's see. And these do not have to be infinite. I could just have it like you move the label and it's gone. But open-ended, collaborate board is open-ended, draw it is open-ended, time to climb gives a score, fill in the blanks gives a score because it is either right or wrong. Matching pairs is either right or wrong. Okay, there's no kind of ambiguity. Flip is making a video, so it's open-ended. And then drag and drop, yeah, I'm gonna say like it can kind of split the middle. I mean, it's kind of a little bit more of like a discussion feature. I mean, it could be open-ended or it could, Nearpod's not gonna be able to score it though. You still have to score it. And then the forms are going to mostly be scored, but you could have it be open-ended if you wanted to as well. Okay, let's move ahead here. So now we have a kind of a good understanding of what are the tools that you can use in Nearpod, or like the ways that Nearpod provides you with this great data about your students. But you're probably wondering, Alyssa, I came here to know how to prepare my students. What do I do now? How do I differentiate my instruction? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's what we're going to talk about next. But this is the part of the training of our PD that's going to become a little bit more hands-on, because I'm going to show you how to do some things in Nearpod, and you're going to try it out in your own accounts. So I would love for all of you to go ahead and log into your Nearpod accounts. So I am going to do that on my shared screen here by opening up a new tab. And I am just going to nearpod.com and I'm opening up my very own personal account. This is the one that I'm actually teaching you from at this moment. It might look different from yours. You guys are all coming from different places, different schools, different ways you log in. So I do not have a standard login for everybody. Some of you sign in with Clever, with ClassLink, maybe with a Google SSO, Microsoft SSO, maybe just your email and password. So however you know how to log in, go ahead and log in. If you are on a free account, a silver account, then you can go create yourself an account as well. But do get yourself to your Nearpod homepage and just kind of leave it be. This is my homepage. As I said, you can see all of the lessons in my Nearpod account. Most of them are professional development lessons because my job is to teach professional development lessons every day. So I don't have all the cute kid lessons in here. They are designed for adult learners. At the top, I've got a bunch of folders, and if I don't want those all like showing all my folders, I just click on show less and it collapses those folders. And now I see the lessons here. So we're gonna, just like I said, we're gonna leave this sitting here because we're gonna play around in it in a minute. And I'm going to go back over to the lesson that I'm teaching, and I'm going to teach you some more things. So if it helps for you, if you want to split your screen, you might want to pull the tab off and make it like different, or if you're okay with just like toggling between the two, then that works too. Everyone's kind of different. Do what works for you. But we are going to have 2 tabs going right now. Okay, so hopefully you all logged in. And so what I'm going to invite you to do right now is to start with a Nearpod lesson that you want to work with, that maybe when you want to differentiate or you want to provide some differentiated features in it. So we're going to just talk about 2 ways to create Nearpod lessons. Either get one from the lesson library and then click on the edit button, or use your own resources and create from scratch. Now, if you don't know how to do this and you need a step-by-step guide, guess what? This is another choice board. So you can click like right on that image, and this will walk you through step by step. How do you build a lesson from scratch? Okay, so you can open that up and you can give that a try. I'm gonna go over to my Nearpod account, and I'm going to start creating one from scratch right here. So I am going to go to this create button that's on the top left-hand corner, and I'm going to choose the first choice that says lesson. And I'm going to open up to create a lesson. And then here I am in my creation screen, my blank slate. I can begin to craft my lessons with like 3 different ways. Either the first choice, which is adding Nearpod content and activities on the left, which when you click on these buttons going down the left-hand side, you will see all of the different options, the things that I was just explaining. Like if I want to build a quiz, I would go under the quizzes and games category, and I would select quiz, and I would select add. It's really as simple as that. And then I start building it out. Okay, but let me delete that one because I don't want to start doing that. So I can choose through the content and activities. The second choice is to add a quick slide. So that will just allow me to build a slide right here. So this is my title slide. Okay, I just make a slide right here. I can edit the slide any way I want to. I'm just going to pick a color here to make this stand out. I'm going to have a yellow title. When I put any text in here, this is my text. That immersive reader tool is going to be able to read all of the text that I put on these slides. I can also highlight this text once it's in a slide, and I can hyperlink things to it. So I can build a choice board right here in a Nearpod slide. All right, so I can continue adding more to this lesson. I just continue with the buttons up here on the top left-hand corner, okay? Either adding content and activities, adding a slide, or I can also upload files. So if I want to upload something, I might want to upload it from my drive. I'm just going to quickly go over to my drive, and I am going to find some slides to upload because I've already got some. I actually have this frog life cycle lesson that I want to upload. I'm going to turn it into individual slides in Nearpod. So it's going to process and it's going to turn those into slides. So I just want to give you guys like a chance to either find a lesson from the Nearpod library and start playing around with editing it, or start creating one from scratch. You just have like about 2 minutes to do this before we move on and I talk about like differentiating what is in the lesson. All right, and if you take a look at my screen, here you go. You can see how my slides from Google got uploaded and turned into Nearpod slides. Okay, I'm keeping my own timer in my head. You have about 1 more minute with this, and then I promise you though, we will get more time to try this out in just a bit. And again, if you needed a step-by-step guide, these are both hyperlinked. So if you just want to start with a Nearpod lesson from the Nearpod library, those are completely editable. And that's actually like a really easy way to start, because we do have 22,000 lessons, activities, and videos already created for you to save you time. And all you need to do is make a little bit of adjustments or modifications to them to make them like actually differentiated for your students. Okay, so I'm going to continue to move on here, and we will come back. I'm going to explain some more things, and then you get to try some things out. So let's go ahead here. So let's talk about asking questions, right? And my friends here from Pearl City High School, we just went through this morning, but I'm so glad you're back. Let's talk about asking questions. What kind of questions do you ask throughout your lessons, and why? Okay, I want you to think about this, because we ask questions quite frequently as we are teaching, and the kind of questions we ask are kind of critical. But let's talk about this particular activity to get you in the mindset of how you're going to differentiate your lesson here. First of all, if you're not quite sure how to answer this question, or you need some vocabulary words, we have attached a vocabulary list to the prompt here on the Collaborate board. So this might be a thing that you want to do. Use reference media to help scaffold your students. And so those are some really, really fancy words there. Those are some tier 2, tier 3 words that I want to see you using in your responses. Additionally, you're going to notice that this particular Collaborate board has columns. So just make sure that when you're responding, if you want your response to go under a particular column, you have your choice menu on the far right, and it's not a drop down, it's a drop up, it's a open up. So where do you want your comment to go? You choose that. I know when I was first working with these columns, I wanted to take a comment and I wanted to move it. I was like, oh, I put it in the wrong place. You can't do that. You would have to delete it, and you would just have to go back and put it again and make sure it goes under the right column. And then also notice your immersive reader is available to you to help you with this question. Or if you want to respond in a different way, if you want to respond with an image, you can choose an image. You can choose a video. You can speak your response, or you can put a GIF there. You are kind of funny and you like that. You're probably saying, why are you saying so much, Alyssa? Why are you telling me all these things? Well, because I am giving you options. I am giving you multiple means of engagement. I am giving you multiple means of expression. Okay, I'm changing the learning process for you. I'm changing the content, and I'm changing the product, all within one simple Nearpod activity. Okay, so I didn't have to make a bunch of different activities for different levels of students. Like, I provided it all within this activity. All right, so we're going to get a lot of responses here because we've got 250 of you in the lesson, but have fun. Scroll through and read what some of your classmates said. You'll notice that you guys are anonymous. You're anonymous, right? Yeah, your names are off. You can also comment on somebody else's comment here. Oh, there's a lot of great questions here too. So we're seeing a lot about, connecting to prior knowledge before a lesson. How are they feeling? Essential questions. What do you notice? What do you wonder? I am so inspired by your guys' questions here. I hope you guys are getting good ideas from each other. Scaffolding, nice picture there, love it. If you like somebody's comment too, you can also click on the heart, build some community that way. So during a lesson, critical thinking questions, like how do we know? Why do we know that? Check for understanding along the way. Did anyone else get the same answer using a different way? Love it, love it. Like, and how do we give the students the opportunity to explain? Well, Nearpod's a good way to do it. Like, does everybody understand? Clarifying questions, great. Well, what about here at the end? You guys scroll through this too. Reflection, check for understanding. Did you meet your standard, right? Did you get the outcome you're looking for? What do you still want to know, right? What questions do you still have? Connections to real life, love it. This emoji, or this Bitmoji here, looking at the phone with surprise, I love that one too. Oh, Willy Wonka, great. I love this one. All right, so I think we can all then kind of come to the conclusion that there are different types of questions that we ask at different points throughout the lesson. And thank you for your great responses. I hope those vocabulary words were helpful that I attached to this activity, but we're gonna move on here. And these are just some things I think you guys, you said these, most of you said, or we saw all of these answers here. Activate thinking, checking for prior knowledge, checking for understanding, facilitating conversations and discussions, reflections, and connections. So did you know that asking questions is actually a really simple yet powerful tool for differentiation? Okay, remember when I said back in the day, I was like, oh, how am I gonna create so many different activities for my different types of students? Well, you don't necessarily have to. You can just kind of encourage the student agency and independence by providing those scaffolds just through asking good questions, and give your students multiple ways to respond or multiple levels of engagement with the question. So how does Nearpod then support this? Well, let's take a look at this graphic on the screen. First of all, top left-hand corner, well, you can just adjust the challenge level or task complexity of the questions that you are asking. So think about Bloom's taxonomy or DOK, something like that. Bottom left, you can use a variety of media to differentiate the content. Okay, so what are you going to attach as a reference to the activity that will allow students to get that additional access to explore or engage more with the content? Top right, differentiate the learning process by providing scaffolded resources, okay? Maybe they need that vocabulary list. Maybe they need a sentence frame. Maybe they need a diagram. Maybe they need translations. Like you can provide those all in these activities. And then on the bottom right, allow for multiple ways for students to demonstrate understanding. So kind of, that's where you determine, like, how am I going to ask this question of my students? Like all of those ways that you guys described of asking questions, like just think about those Nearpod activities, the open-ended questions or the evaluative type of question, not questions, the open-ended activities or the evaluative type of activities. Those, they all affect, like, the way your instruction or the way the students can engage in the lesson. And it's just, as I said, it's pretty simple to do so. So what are some things that we have seen already? Well, that immersive reader tool, by simply going on your Nearpod accounts and enabling that immersive reader and making that available for your students, that opens up the door right away for many, many students. Let me show you, take a look at my screen, my shared screen. So let me show you, just so to make sure, on your Nearpod accounts, where you should see that is you go to your top right-hand corner and you go 3 buttons down to your lesson settings. And you just want to make sure that 3rd button is enabled. Enable immersive reader. Okay, so once you have that on, that little immersive reader button will appear in your Nearpod lessons, and any text that is typed into the screen, into the lesson as you are creating it, will be able to be read by the immersive reader. If you turn it off, it won't be there. All right, so immersive reader, so simple to turn that on. Providing choices for responses. Okay, so for example, an open-ended question, you can allow for students to type answers, or you can allow them to record their answers, to record their voice. You also might have noticed on the Collaborate board, a lot of you responded with images or with GIFs, but you could have recorded your voice on a Collaborate board too. So, but the open-ended question, as I said, is pretty versatile, pretty open-ended. So let's give it a try and let's see how we can kind of build student participation and build confidence with that. And we are going to pause here. We're going to do what's called a pedagogical pause. So based on what you have heard so far, I've shared a lot of information over the past 50 minutes. How do you think that you can use Nearpod to support what you already know, because I can tell you're great teachers, about best first instruction? And you can write your response, or you're going to notice on your screen that you can record your response because that red record button is there. All right, so different ways. Now, if you're in a room with a partner, which I don't think most of you are, but if you are with a colleague, you could actually turn to your colleague and have a discussion, and you could record your discussion if you wanted to. So those are your instructions for responding here. You have the immersive reader available to you in the question. And then also you're going to see the reference media this time. We linked it to a website about just some tier 1 instructional strategies. Like if you scroll down through this blog, and this is from our parent company, Renaissance, like, you know, the things that, like, here are the strategies at the bottom. Like, if you look at these strategies and you think like, ooh, I can actually like simply engage with Nearpod and implement these great strategies. So you can use that as a reference if you want to. So just, we're going to pause here. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to respond. If you want, I will pop over here to my teacher side of things. I'm going to try to scroll through 262 people in my lesson now. I'm doing my best to peruse your answers. I could be on the lookout here also for people who are way off track or are developing a misconception or who don't seem to be understanding. And if we were in a class and there was maybe only about 20 of you or 25, I could pull you maybe to the rainbow table in the back of the classroom. We could do a follow-up lesson, or I could share more resources with you, but I would know this. I'd be like, oh, they didn't get it. They need additional support. I can see that right in the moment. Now, I could have put a timer on this as well, which I didn't. Maybe I should have, but if I put a timer on it, then you would see that, you know, how much time you had to participate. That is a differentiation as well. Like maybe you want students to work more quickly because you're trying to work towards mastery of something. So you could put a timer on it, kind of makes it like a game. Or maybe you want to give students more time, and so you want them to kind of practice that skill. Right now I left it open for you, so I'm going to give you a little bit more time. I see somebody recorded a response right here. That's awesome. I will not play it at this point. I can go back and I can review it as a teacher, but thank you for trying out that tool. It's not like, if you were in your class, like I wouldn't recommend playing a recording without listening to it first, because you never know what they're gonna say. Not saying that whoever recorded it, I'm sure that your recording is awesome. I'm just right now gonna leave that recording there. Thank you for trying that out. Okay, so, and then what's really cool, if you're not aware, for my people who are new to Nearpod, when I go through on my dashboard and I see these responses, I can share them. So we can have a classroom discussion, and then it's not like the same 4 kids always sharing out their responses. I get to choose. Let's see. I saw a really cool one I liked over here. Like I can open up this one and I'm going to share it out here. So I just overtook your screen. Sorry if you were still typing, but I am in control. So I overtook your screen. So I think Nearpod is great for meeting students where they are. For instance, if a student isn't ready for composing a response to an open-ended question, maybe they could say their answer. Absolutely, that's what we're trying to show you. Like, we still want them to be able to share their thoughts, and we want them to be able to feel like they have a voice. Could try another one. Here, I can share this one. I can use Nearpod to help meet students where they are at and differentiate for each learner. Absolutely. And you don't have to do different lessons for different students. Like, it's kind of already built in just by adding some additional features. And how about this one? Implement different activities and give live feedback. Absolutely. Some of our slides do, or some of our activities do allow you to give live feedback, like a draw it or a drag and drop. Okay, so thank you for participating in that, but let's move on here. So let's talk about some more things that you can do, some more Nearpod features, and I want to talk about adding audio to static slides, because that's kind of a big confusion and a big question. So that immersive reader tool, remember, is only available when you put text into Nearpod. But sometimes we have slides in Nearpod that are images. So I still, though, can't, let me go back to my lesson here that I was editing right here. I can still add audio onto this slide. There's a few different things that I can do. Okay, so as I said, this text that I can highlight, Immersive Reader is going to read it. These slides here that are images, look at, I can't highlight this text. So I can't highlight that because it came as an image into Nearpod. So Immersive Reader cannot read it as it is. So I can do a couple things if I do want to add audio. First of all, I can go to the little audio button on the top and I can just record. So I just frog spawn. Okay, and I just say the word or whatever I want to do, and then I just save it, and now I have added audio simply on top of the slide. This could be directions for my students, this could be a translation, this could be anything I want. So I can do that. I can also, if I wanted to, I could add my own text box on top of the slide, and then any additional text that I add, it can read this. So maybe I want to add like something on top, and then the Immersive Reader will be able to read it. So add audio on top of your slides, or add an additional text box if you want to, if it's something that the Immersive Reader cannot read. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let me talk to you about also providing reading support with the fill in the blank activity, because maybe you want to take like that text that you're having your students read and you want to provide some scaffolded support for it. Try using the fill in the blanks. Let me show you how that works. This is this lesson that I was just building out, and so I am going to look for that fill in the blanks activity. I go to add new to get to my content and activity selector tool, and it's fill in the blanks is like a game. So I go down under activities and I select games, and I go to the top right to fill in the blank and I select add. And as with all of the Nearpod activities, it's going to prompt me too, like prompt me through how to create this. So I can put some text in here. Now I happen to have some text ready to go. Just so you know what I'm looking at, I Googled tadpoles here. So I'm just going to grab like just from Wikipedia, because we know it's 100% true, right? Getting there. I'm going to copy that text. Let me get rid of this, and I'm just going to paste it here. All right, so there is my text about tadpoles, and then I'm going to go to the next button here because I need to now remove some words. I'm going to make this like a game for my students, okay? And then now I've created this fill in the blanks activity. I can make different levels of this activity for different students if I want to, right? So this mimics maybe the type of technology that students would see on a standardized assessment. And remember, to bring it all back to the beginning, we're here to talk about how to make students or how to help students be successful on standardized tests. and talking about test prep. And really at the heart of it all, we believe that this best first instruction is going to be like a critical step for all of your students. So, if they can actually meet the objectives the first time you teach them, and if you provide them with different activities that meet them where they are, then they will be able to perform successfully on those standardized tests. So consider using the fill in the blanks activity as a great way to ask questions or give students some practice. All right, what else can you put in your lesson? Well, you can encourage students to interact with each other in a tool like a Collaborate board. Okay, so practice with that, expressing themselves, using language, being asked thoughtful questions, being asked high-level questions, maybe adjusting the questions to meet with them where they are. Provide them the resources in the moment for review or for future learning, so you can attach resources as reference media to an activity or by itself as web content. And provide options, like just for them to be able to extend their understanding of concepts with things like virtual reality or 3D. So as I'm back over here and I'm building out my lesson here, let's say I'm like, oh, I have this whole lesson about a frog. Maybe I want to add some interactive media in here. I'm going to go on this virtual reality field trip. I'm going to look for, let me see if I can find a pond here, because frogs live in a pond. Okay, so this is the environment. Here's that one's got a lot of lily pads, so I selected this one. And that's all I have to do. I don't even have to save anything. Then maybe if I wanted to do 3D, like I could search through like Nearpod 3D images here, for something to go along with what I'm teaching. I can just go ahead and I'm not gonna do that, but you can explore that. If I wanted to go ahead and do another type of activity, like say I do want to create a Collaborate board, I just select Create Collaborate Board, select Add, and then I see all of the buttons, all of the choices, all of the options. Make it your own, okay? Just like have you ever seen a tadpole? And then I could put a follow-up, describe where you saw it, or whatever I wanted to do. I could add my reference media to this to help support my students. So images, documents, videos, web content, things like that. I have all of my choices up here along the top of how I want to allow students to respond. And again, this is just one of many different ways to get students to engage. And then you might have noticed the pop out on the right-hand side here. I can choose my themes, and I noticed that our Nearpod team, because it's February, they moved the Valentine's Day theme up to the top. So that's just for fun if you want to engage your students that way. And then, like I said, I could just continue to add more features. In terms of adding web content, that would fall under media. So if I wanted to add web content by itself on its own slide, I just select the web content tool, and then I drop in any type of web link, okay? Any URL from any other outside tool, any Google tool. This is where I could put in a Google form or a Microsoft form. Just drop the link in there, and again, that will engage my students as well. So active learning is what it's all about, allowing your students to explore and interact with each other. Alrighty. So how do we make these differentiated experiences for our students then? Let's talk a little bit of on a more like a how-to, with the nuts and bolts of how do you copy and paste and make different versions of things. So you can, if you were going to differentiate for your students and you want to provide maybe different versions of the same lesson, like I've got students that are ready for the long version, or I have students that need a simpler version, you can delete activities, you can make changes to activities within your lessons, you can add more support, more assessment, there's so many different ways, but just thinking about copying, pasting, duplicating, or mutating your lessons, okay? So let me show you. On my screen here, I didn't add anything here, so I'm just going to delete this. And I'm going to call this like sample lesson level 1. I'm going to call this actually level 2. This is going to be my actually harder lesson. And so now that I've gone through this, okay, well, what's going on here? Let me just refresh here so I can save it, because I want to reload this. Yeah, I want to save this lesson. There we go. I've created my lesson, and now I'm going to save it. Okay, so once I save it, it's saving here in my lessons. So if I wanted to make a new version of this, all I need to do is hover over it and go to the 3 dots on the right, the top right, and I could duplicate this as an option. So I just want to go back and say like, okay, this is my level 1. This is going to be my easier lesson. So what I'm going to do is I am going to maybe delete some slides, or maybe I am going to make this activity even easier. They're only going to have to fill in 2 words on this one. I'm going to like make it shorter, remove these other slides. Like I could just make any changes I want to differentiate for my different groups. I could like make this a harder question, an easier question, so I could do all that. Additionally though, within a lesson, I can just duplicate a slide. So I could actually I can go to the 3 dots on the top right-hand corner, and I could just duplicate that slide. And then like I could change the question on the second one. So this is version 2. So you could do that like however you want, any sort of activity. And then I could just go ahead and I could save it. Now I can do the same thing with lessons I get from the Nearpod library. So if I actually, let me go into the Nearpod library, and I actually want to find lessons about frogs. So I am just perusing through what is already created in Nearpod. And so I'm going to sort it out. I'm going to look, okay, I would love this one, or oh my gosh, I hope I didn't, or let me actually try this one. Hopefully I don't already have this one saved. Now I'm thinking I might. Adult animals and their offspring. Yeah, shoot. Let me try this one more time. Frogs. Here, okay, you know what? I am just going to, for some reason, I'm thinking I have all of these added to my library already. Life cycle of a frog. Let me go and see if it's there. It's not, there it is. Okay. The thing is, it doesn't pop up in the front if it's already in my library, and I think I just selected a lesson that was already in my library. But same thing, I can edit this lesson that I got from the library. So I'm going to click on that left-hand corner and edit this lesson. So I can make all of the changes I want to this to provide those differentiated features for my students if I need to. I can click on like any sort of activity. If I go into this next Collaborate board here, it doesn't have reference media, I can add it. Let's see what else is in here. If I go into the matching pairs, maybe I want to add more words, or I want to remove words, so I could delete the pairs. If I want to take this slide and duplicate it and make an easier version or a harder version, I can do that all right in one place. Okay, so these are just the ideas of how you differentiate the instruction. Either duplicate the lessons and then make a longer, harder version, or a shorter, easier version, or a more complex or a simpler version. Substitute reading levels, deepen the activities or simplify them, replace the tasks, add more support. It's like the world is wide open for you with Nearpod. It's so versatile and flexible for you. So once you do that, then provide the options to your students. So there is a couple of ways that you can do that. You can use the live to student paste feature that's available to you in a Nearpod lesson. So like I could go to this little button on the bottom right-hand corner and I could turn on student paste mode, and you see that on the animation on the screen here, which it's showing you how you can provide those different choices for your students to move through different activities. Again, this is going to meet the students where they are so they get access to that best first instruction. Or you can build a hyperdoc with Nearpod slides, how I showed you a hyperdoc in the beginning where you give them choices and then they can link to student paced Nearpod lessons. So that would be like if I came back here to Nearpod and like I wanted to have lesson 1 and lesson 2 on a choice board, I would just want to like grab the student pace code. So I launch a student pace code. I check the date here for how long the code's going to be active. I copy this link, and then I could actually hyperlink it to a slide and make that choice board for my students. I can also do that with Google Docs, and I could add, or not Google Docs, with Google Slides, and I could add that slide as web content into my Nearpod lesson. Right, so that's how you can provide the different options to your students right in a Nearpod lesson. So I want to give you guys a chance to try some of this out. This is a hyperdoc that you are looking at. This is a hyperdoc created with Google Slides. If you want help now with any of the things that I have shown you, finding a resource, editing lessons, adding activities, adding media, adding audio, sharing a lesson, adding a hyperdoc, just click on one of those buttons and it's going to give you your own individualized, differentiated, step-by-step guide to help you figure out how to do some of these things. So try it out. Look for resources, try duplicating, differentiating, adding media, simplifying questions, changing up the activities. But remember, your students are getting like a variety of ways to engage by just being in the Nearpod lesson, and they're all having a chance to participate. So I'm gonna let you work on this for a few minutes, like about 5 minutes actually, or what time is it? Yeah, we're doing good on time. I have a little timer up here on my screen. So I'm going to, you know what, I'm gonna choose a 6-minute timer because we're doing well on time. So I'm gonna just let you work for 6 minutes. Let us know if you have questions, try things out. I'm here for you, but this is kind of your chance to apply some of the learning that I showed you. I'm going to let you work for a little bit, but looks like maybe some people might be interested in knowing about how to do the Google Slides choice board and add it into Nearpod. So I will show you that. We didn't have that included in this deck, but I will come back in like a minute and I will show you if you're interested in how it looks so pretty like this when we do it from Google Slides. So everything that I've shown you guys, I'm looking at some of the questions here, even though I know my moderators are answering all the questions, but everything that I've shown you, it's available on your own Nearpod accounts. So the best way to learn if you are new is just go on, log in, and start clicking on everything. You're not gonna break it, I promise you. You can't break Nearpod. You don't have the power to do that. Just, if it says duplicate or like if you're wondering, I wonder what happens if I click here, click there and you'll see. Okay, you can always like delete anything. You don't have to worry. It's just kind of there for you to learn. See some of these questions here. You can edit the slides that are in an already created Nearpod lesson, absolutely. What you cannot edit is an image, but you can add audio on top of it. But if it's something that is an image and the text isn't editable, you can't do it that way. But you can edit the activities. If you want a copy of this presentation, make sure you go to the top right-hand corner of the screen that you are looking at in the student lesson and pop out that little tab for Nearpod notes and send it to yourself. You put in your email address, and that is how you can send yourself a copy of this presentation. All right, and for people who want to know how to put a Google slide deck or a Google slide choice board into your Nearpod lesson, I am going to go ahead and show you, even though this wasn't in our deck here. So here's my Google Drive right here. And I have a choice board all ready to go. So this is a choice board that I built on a Google slide. I have hyperlinks to these little images to student paced Nearpod lessons. I'm going to put this choice board into my Google slide or into my Nearpod lesson. So all I need to do is check my sharing settings, first of all, in Google, and make sure that they are set that anybody can view them. And then I go ahead and I copy the link. So if I want to add this into a lesson, I select edit. Now this lives on the internet, so this is web content. So I would just want to go up to this add new tool, okay? This is where anything I want to add into a lesson, I play around, I just click down through these gray buttons here on the left-hand side. So if I want to get web content, that is media, and that is interactive media. And I look for this globe. That's how I always remember. It is the World Wide Web. And I select web content, and I select add. And then I just drop that link in there. But there is a little trick, okay? And this is kind of an advanced trick. So those of you who are ready to hear it, you can listen. So some of you might be like, what? What'd she say? But I'm gonna show this to you. It's a Google thing. You've got to change the ending if you want it to look pretty to say preview. Anytime you want something that'll look pretty that comes from Google, just change the ending to preview. And then once you put in preview, it's going to look like super nice, just like this. This is what it looks like. Okay, if I didn't put preview on there, I'll just do that. I'll go through that process one more time. There goes my timer. If I didn't put preview on there, this is what it's going to look like when you put it in the lesson for your students. It's going to look just like this. You may not want it to look like that with the slides on the left-hand side. So if you want it to look pretty, like the first one, just change the ending to say preview, and that's the difference there. Makes all of the big difference in how your choice board looks. All right, so I hope we're doing well here. I am going to continue on with the end of my presentation here because we're coming up to the end. So bringing it full circle, how can using Nearpod support tiered instruction techniques for intervention or extension? So remember, if you can provide that best first instruction, and provide some intervention, provide some extension, your students have a better chance of mastering the content the first time through it. So just think about adjusting the complexity of the task with the DOK or Bloom's taxonomy, using a variety of media to differentiate the content, differentiate the learning processes by providing scaffolded resources, and then allowing for multiple ways for students to demonstrate their understanding. Okay, these are the 4 key ways to use Nearpod to provide that tiered support. Now, for those of you who are new, and we are so glad you're here, let me talk to you about a couple additional ways that you can get help for getting started with Nearpod. You have to join your Nearpod account, okay? So go into your Nearpod account. And if you go to this button here where it says Explore Nearpod Library, the very first choice is how to use Nearpod. So go in there and look you're gonna find all kinds of nice little videos to just help you get started with Nearpod. So that is one way to get started. Another way to get started, once you're in your Nearpod account, go to the bottom left-hand corner where you see teacher resources, and this is our teacher resources page. And hey, we offer webinars all of the time. This is a very special test prep webinar, but we offer regular, like, beginner's guide to Nearpod, beginner's guide to vocabulary, like planning and editing and creating lessons with Nearpod. Like, check out our calendar, sign up for another webinar, or we have recordings of webinars that you can explore. You also can go over to YouTube. We love YouTube. Go to YouTube, we have playlists, dozens and dozens of videos there. And not only will you see the videos we create here at Nearpod, but videos other people create about using Nearpod, so that's fun. Connect with those educators. We have frequently asked questions on our resource page. How do you create a lesson or video? Click on that category and check out all of these articles, okay? Open it up. You got it there, like help yourself. Right there, you can learn a lot, or you can keep coming back to our public webinars that we offer. We're happy to support you here as well. So those are some additional ways that you can get help. You can also just follow our blog. Our blog has amazing articles, little short articles, great ideas. Definitely check it out. All right, so let me wrap it up here about with our final exit ticket here, our final Collaborate board. How can you use Nearpod lessons to be part of your test prep process and help you deliver quality tiered instruction? Share your aha moments today, or your next steps, your ideas, and any lingering questions in the columns here on this Collaborate board. All right, so put your thoughts on the bottom. You can select the column there on the right, and I just want to kind of wrap things up before we're done. We love the choice boards. Love them. So I also want you to know, you guys, any of you that are here from school districts, if your school districts have Nearpod accounts, and maybe your school district has like some PD opportunities available. We have a great session where we just spend 1 hour building choice boards. So talk to your person in charge and be like, hey, can we have a Nearpod PD on choice boards? I hear they offer one in their catalog, so maybe you have that available to you. Let your people know, let your administrators know, or your leaders know. Wish the code to the lesson didn't change each time I edited it. So you know what? So if you have, also, if you ever have like anything that you want Nearpod to hear, go to feedback.nearpod.com. Okay, I just wrote that on this person's comment here, but I will try to put that in the chat. Feedback.nearpod.com. If you have feedback for the Nearpod engineers, we'd love to hear it. Like not breaking the code every time you edit a lesson, like put that in there. And they do make updates to the platform based on teacher feedback. So definitely make your voice heard. Love it. Okay, lots of great comments here. Love getting the data in real time. Love it. Sam Jones will use this tomorrow for choice boards for whenever. I love it. Start with existing content. Thanks you all so much for your awesome participation. This is great. Keep putting questions here in the webinar. I'm going to give you about 20 more seconds to comment here, and then I will move this Collaborate board off the screen. Okay, guys, thank you for coming today. We've got one more webinar ready for you in 2 weeks. Well, yes, two 2 weeks from today, on Thursday, February 15th. Come join my fabulous colleague, Jason. He is going to be talking specifically about creating tech-enhanced questions to prepare students for success. So if you want to register for that webinar, you can click on this link right here, right now in the screen where it says register now, and go ahead and just open that up. Just let it sit there in a new tab. You can go back to that when you have a moment. But we are so happy that you came today, and we hope you have been enjoying this series. Also, if you want more information just about test prep, this is our website, nearpod.com/test-prep. Go there and just check out all our information and our resources that are there. So other than that, thank you for joining. I know for some of you it's really late, and I'm so glad you hung in there with me. Have a wonderful evening, and I am going to end this with an evaluation form. So you can go ahead and write in your Nearpod lesson, click on this form, and we're going to call this session, this is going to be a next steps session. Okay, this was not getting started, this was next steps. So select next steps, and me, I'm the first one on the list. I'm Alyssa Navarrete. Thanks for joining. Go ahead and just fill in the rest of the information here and give us great feedback about this, or helpful feedback, because we always want to hear from you. And take care. And we are all finished, everybody, so you can sign off when you are done, or hang out and get your questions answered. And we will end this in just a few minutes. I think GoToWebinar will send you a certificate. I'm not even sure. Do any of my moderators know? And the feedback form is in your Nearpod lesson, or it's in the chat. If you want the registration link for the next webinar, I see that as one of the questions here in the chat. So everybody, if you want the feedback form, click on it right now in the Nearpod lesson, because I'm going to move this slide off the screen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to go back to the one with the link to register for the next session. So if you want to register, click right here where it says register now, and that should open up the registration tab in another, or the registration form in another tab. Name of the instructor is me, Alyssa. I'm the first one on the list, the very top. So I'm just taking a look at some of the questions here. If you guys are still here, you can have different Nearpod accounts. If Hyacinth, if you work in different districts, you can have different Nearpod accounts. But your lesson libraries are going to be like individual for each one of those. And I think this session is being recorded, so the recordings will be available on the test prep website, that nearpod.com/test-prep. Oh, okay, so yeah, so they're saying that the certificates will come to your email. Got it. Okay, do you know how to take? You should get the certificates. The certificates they're generated by GoToWebinar, which is the webinar platform that we're using. So I think they come out within 24 hours. And then the survey, if you lost the link, it is in the chat. So just take a look in the chat for the survey link. And awesome. So benefits of a paid account, London, are that you get unlimited storage, first of all, which is kind of key. And well, you get, depending if you're paying individually, there are certain limits to storage in a gold or a platinum account, but school district accounts have unlimited storage and access to all kinds of bonus features that are not necessarily available in the free account. Things like live to student paced, columns in a Collaborate board, and you have access to all kinds of more lessons. But you can still work with the free account. Free accounts work really well too. We're just happy that you're here, so thanks for joining. Okay, I'm going to end this webinar. Thank you. Have a great evening. Closing it out. Good night.